In this video, we'll go through the process of creating a GPU reservation so we can present GPU resources for VCFA organizations. Let's start by verifying that we have the Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA license. Click on Administration, go to Licensing and version 9 plus licenses, and confirm that you have a license ready. You can also do this through VCF Ops. Go back to Inventory, click the cluster level, go to Monitor, and then scroll down to Direct Path Profiles Utilization. You can see that we already have two existing profiles. We're going to be using this profile to keep track of the GPU consumption for this specific GPU. If you need to create your own direct path profile, go to Manage Direct Path Profiles and create and select a specific vGPU profile and create your profile. Let's navigate back and go to Supervisor Management. Here, we need to first identify the ID of the supervisor. This is the ID for this specific supervisor that we're going to be using for the demo. Write this down because we need to use this as part of the DCLI comments. Go back to Supervisors, click on Services, go to VM Service, and click Manage. Here, we can either create a new VM class or just edit an existing VM class with the right settings so it's compatible with GPU reservations. For this demo, I'm going to be using an existing VM class. Let's scroll down, and here you can see that we have an existing A100-80C VM class. Let's click on Manage, Edit. We have the GPU configured. And now we need to configure limits and reservations for both CPU and memory. Here for memory, you can see that the reservation is reserved already. That's by default every time that you add a PCI device as part of a VM class, but the limit is not configured as default. So go ahead and enter your limit and click OK. Now we need to log to vCenter via SSH with the root user so we can start creating the GPU reservation via DCLI. Here we are logged into vCenter server via SSH. Let's enter DCLI plus I plus show. And let's verify that there are no existing GPU reservations that can create a conflict with the GPU reservation that we're going to be creating as part of this step. For this, we use this command. You can see here that we're going to be listing the zone bindings here on the supervisor to specify the ID that we identify on a previous step. Click Enter. There are no VM reservations for reserved VM classes, so we're good to go. Now we need to create the GPU reservation with this comment. Here, you can see that we specify resource allocation VM reservations. And here we specify the name of the VM class that we modified with the CPU and memory reservations as well as limits. We are going to be just setting a count of 1. And we'll specify the zone for this supervisor, which is a single zone supervisor. And this is the cluster ID, domain-C10. Click Enter. Let's verify that the GPU reservation or reserved VM class is in place. It's working. Now we're good to go to VCFA and start configuring these GPU resources. We need to log into VCFA provider management. Click Login. Here, we're going to go to Organizations on the left-hand side. Then select the organization where you want to configure the GPU reservation or the GPU resources to be available for workloads running on top of that organization. We're going to be using this organization. Click on it. and click on region quota, expand the region quota. You can see all the resources that are already configured for this specific organization. We're going to scroll all the way down, reserve VM classes. Click edit, select the GPU reservation that we just created with DCLI, and give it a count of 1, where we have 1 available. Click save. Now we need to go back and log into the actual organization to start configuring the right settings to consume these GPU resources. Log to the specific organization. Now, here on the organization level, we need to create a refresh token. Navigate to your right-hand side top corner and click My Account. Click on API Tokens and create a new token. We're going to call it Demo. Click Create and copy this down so you can use it for the different commands that we're going to be issuing. Now we need to use that refresh token to create or request a bearer token that will be used as a form of authentication for the API calls that we're going to be doing in a future step. Click enter. You can see here that we have a bearer token ready to be used. Document this since we're going to be using this bearer token for future API calls. These are the 2 calls that we're going to be using to create the supervisor namespace class and this associated supervisor namespace class config so we can consume the GPU resources. We'll start by creating the supervisor namespace class, which is just an empty container defining the name and metadata for the supervisor namespace class. So let's copy this and go to a terminal. Here we are on the terminal. Let's just paste the API call. You can see here that we are going to be creating a supervisor namespace class called GPU reservation A100. Let's hit enter. And this confirms that the supervisor namespace class was created. We can verify this by going to PCFA to the specific org and see if it's already there. Let's do it. Here on the actual tenant portal, go to manage and govern, go to namespace class, and you can see here that we have the empty namespace class that we just created. Now it's time for us to actually push the configuration settings to this namespace class. If we click on it, you'll see that there's no resources defined. Let's do that. Here we have the second call that we're going to be doing in order to create the actual configuration for the supervisor namespace class that we just created. You can see that we provide a name. We define the vSAN default storage policy or whatever storage policy you have configured, the limit for that storage class, as well as CPU, memory, and GPU reservation resources. Let's copy this call and we'll go back to the terminal to execute it. Let's paste the call and hit enter. You can see here that it was successful. Let's verify it via the UI. Here we are on the org portal. Go to manage and govern, then namespace class, and click on the supervisor namespace class that we just created. You should see that the actual settings are now set as part of the configuration. So we are ready to use this supervisor namespace class to create namespaces based on these settings. For that, we need to go back to projects. We'll select the default project for this demo. You can have your own projects. We're going to create a new namespace. So go to namespaces, click new namespace, we'll enter a name, demo. Select the namespace class, select the region, and select the VPC. We'll go ahead and confirm that all the settings are right and go ahead and create it. Let's wait for this status to change to active. The status has changed to active, so we're ready to use this namespace to either deploy GPU workloads or to run the private AI foundation with NVIDIA Quick Start. Thank you.